Hello and welcome to Real Hi-Fi Help. Let me just react to the video from Steve. Audio as fetish object. Do you touch, feel, or fondle your hi-fi?
Hey guys, I am Steve Guttenberg and I'm also the Audiophiliac. And I want to talk about audio as fetish or fetish objects. Stuff that you touch, that you handle, that you fondle, the touchy-feely part. But I think that's really interesting. I was thinking about this guy's name popped into my head today. And his thing was when he bought a component, he would take the cover off and he would just get inside of that thing, especially if it was a tube amp. He would take out the tubes, he'd polish each pin, he would fuss over each resistor and capacitor, and I don't know, polish them or something. He was in there for a long time. It would take at least a night, sometimes days, before he would even turn the freaking thing on. I knew this other guy, this Japanese audiophile, and he would put his amplifiers on ball bearings, these big ball bearings. Maybe they were.
First of all, polishing tubes, the connectors of the tubes, or the pins, or whatever you call them, that can actually help clear up the sound. So if you've got some old tubes, just remove some of that that old stickiness and unclear metal. You can also do it with some sophisticated stuff, like I think Fruitake made some stuff that you can clean plugs with, or Mika Clear. They made I think an unofficial product that you can buy on eBay, which actually helps clean old plugs quite a bit and freshen up the sound. So yeah, actually pretty good idea. And ball bearings, vibrational feet, yep, that does make a difference when you've got good gear.
Ball bearings, but steel balls. This is before roller blocks and all that stuff. And he would just make them so that he could just glide around, just blow on them, and they would just move gently. It's really kind of weird. Of course, the cables would stop them from moving, falling off shelves. But one guy I knew had this thing about connections in amplifiers, and he took out all the connectors and he soldered in cables to the components, to the amplifier and preamp and stuff. He didn't want any jacks. In other words, he would displace all those things, and he would do hardwire connections for his speakers at the speaker end and at the amplifier end, and between the preamp and power amp. They were all hardwired. He didn't like connections. He thought it sounded better. Hardwiring was good. He didn't like the contact part.
Yeah, sometimes you can actually be right about that. If you remove some of that signal and have a better and shorter signal, it can actually improve the sound sometimes.
So people get fussy about that sort of stuff. I don't have that obsession at all, really. I open the box, I plug it in, and I listen. I do other things, but it's not the touchy. I'm not getting hands-on really with my stuff. But if you do, please tell me. Share your fetish things with high-end audio or low-end audio or mid-fi audio, and leave a comment or two. My name is.
I also know some audiophiles that like to open up tube amps and just experiment with this different resistors, electrolytes, and capacitors. And yeah, it can make a pretty big difference. If you find some pretty decent gear, usually you can do stuff like that and get away with it, so it actually sounds better. But if you start doing stuff like that with gear that isn't really good, and you start changing things that are really close to the signature. For example, I once did that with my old Macintosh MA6900, and kind of gave some problems. I improved the sound, yes, but I took it too far. I asked the guy to remove the VIMA transistors, I think it was, and replace it with a newer and better one. And yeah, the sound kind of improved, but it went away from the stock Macintosh sound, and that was a bit disappointing because it just didn't have quite that same sound again. Even though it was bigger and more impressive, more clear, it just didn't really hit that original sound quite as well. So yeah, you have to watch out with doing stuff like that, because sometimes there is a reason for running parts on an amplifier, for example, that aren't really that good. You know, sometimes they do that in order to keep the sound safe, because if you start messing around with stuff like that, sometimes it can actually backfire, and you can lose some of that original sound that actually in a way sounds better, even though it's not quite as fresh, quite as powerful, quite as clear in sound. So yeah, something to think about, something to tinker with if you ever wanted to mess around with gear. And yeah, that's all for this video, and remember to like and subscribe. Bye.